I think I counted that correctly, and I should be heard by now. So, hi, everybody. I, as you probably know by now, am Happy by 3. I am the event lead organizer, event coordinator, whatever job works best for my resume for this event. And I am joined today by two lovely folks. You may notice that our usual friend from BluePath, Michelle, is not here. She's feeling sick today, so she had to not join us, but she says hello and sends her best to everybody. But I am joined by two lovely folks, Emily and Kate, and of course, our good boy Thunder, who we had the privilege of choosing a name for after the event last year met our $5,000 goal. And so, I guess before any other specific questions, if y'all just want to introduce yourselves, kind of talk a little bit about your connection to BluePath and how you ended up here.
Sure. I guess I'll go ahead and go first. Hi everyone. My name is Dubious Winter, and in real life, people call me Kate. Um, my connection to BluePath is I have a 7-year-old son named Wesley who's on the autism spectrum. Throughout his life, he's had some challenges with eloping. If you're not familiar with that, it just means running away from a safe situation into an unsafe situation. So in the past, when he was like 5 years old, he'd occasionally run away from us at the grocery store, or on one circumstance, he ran into traffic. And we were extremely lucky to be able to get a service dog from BluePath Service Dogs. Her name is Reba, and she has, to be a little dramatic about it, really saved my son's life and changed the way he interacts with the world. So I am always happy to talk about how wonderful these dogs are, and yeah, so that's why I'm here. And I also want to just thank you guys for doing this for BluePath. It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, much.
I'm Emily, and I'm Thunder's puppy raiser. So he is the first puppy that I have raised for BluePath, but I am a special education teacher, and I have primarily students with autism in my classroom. So it's something I'm passionate about, and I love dogs. And so Thunder has been with me since last June, and we think Thunder is a fantastic name for him. He's a very big boy. He's 70 pounds now. He's been doing quite a bit of growing over the past year. And we're excited to be here. And Thunder is doing really well so far in his path to be a service dog with BluePath.
It's awesome. Thank you so much both for being here. I really appreciate it. As both of y'all mentioned, BluePath focuses on service animals for autistic children, primarily dealing with bolting. And I've talked about this during the intro, and a few times y'all who have been here the whole time have heard me rant about it. But as a former autistic child with a service dog, and now autistic adult with a retired service dog, this is obviously a cause very close to my heart, and that's like a huge part of why I wanted to support BluePath. When we first started looking for a charity partner for this event, like service animals just seemed like the obvious decision, because it is an event all about like cooperation and having support and help to be able to do things that you might not be able to do on your own. And for those of us who have service animals or know people with them, we are intimately familiar with the way that our animals make it possible for us to do life in ways that we could not do on our own. But a big part of the reason I landed on BluePath specifically is because the amount of support they give to their animals and families, from like their breeding program through the entire life of the animal, through placement and onwards, and the financial support that they give to families. So if either of y'all want to expand on that and talk about if you have any personal experience with that aspect of BluePath's approach to things.
Absolutely. So I can say from kind of the parent perspective, the process starts with an application, which is kind of in depth, and they seem like they really want to get to know your child, know their likes and dislikes, and their strengths and some of their weaknesses. And then they follow that up with actually 2 home interviews. So they come out and meet you and your child with some dogs, and you don't know, is this the dog I'm going to get or not, and give you you as the parent and your child an opportunity to interact with the dog as well as practice walking with them to see if it's going to be a good fit. Um,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and then the parent training, my husband actually did the parent training, but they go and stay at a hotel for a week with the dog, and he kind of got to know the dog really well and got to build a relationship with her before he brought her home to the family and to meet Wesley and kind of begin their journey together. And so from the moment that he was handed the dog at the hotel, through to when we really had our feet under us and were confident moving around the world with Wesley.
Mhm.
They were right there with us. So the trainers were there with us for the week at the hotel. They came and saw us once we were home. They came to the grocery store with us. They came to the aquarium with us. So like all these different places to kind of help us just integrate her into our life and to
Mhm.
help Wesley with that integration
Yeah.
process as well.
It's funny you mention the language of like until we were kind of comfortable moving around the world with that's such a thing that someone who has lived with a service dog would say that no one else would get. Like
Yeah,
I feel
it's a
like before
change.
you have a service animal, you're like, what do you mean moving through the world? It's a dog. You just have a dog next to you. And
Yeah, right up
everything
until
is
you have
different.
like a tray at the food court and a leash and a kid who's going in the other direction. You're like,
Yup.
how do I do this?
Yeah, everything is different when you have to navigate the world with a dog at all times. Okay, I thought you were just going to come up here and be cute and say hi, but now you've decided you're staying up here. So, yes, you're on stream. This is my retired service dog, Willow, who is. Why have you decided you want to stay here? So, yeah, I mean, that's something that really stood out to me and I thought was really, really important was just knowing that there is support throughout the life of the dog and for families to not only be paired with an animal, but to have the financial support to be able to afford a fully trained and purpose-bred service animal because they're really, really expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the amount they told us when we were doing the program was between $40,000 and $50,000 like per dog.
Yeah.
And that cost wasn't passed on to us as a family, which is amazing because nobody has that lying around, right?
No.
Well, some people do, but
Yeah. And
it's not us.
if you already have that lying around, you probably already have other resources set up and you have access to resources and
Absolutely.
BluePath, they also make it super accessible for the puppy raisers, thanks to like fundraising like this. Next week, Thunder and I are actually going to parent training. He's not in parent training, but we're kind of troubleshooting a couple of behaviors with Thunder and just as he's getting bigger and working on what the next steps are. So we'll go spend some time with the trainers next week and get some one-on-one attention.
Awesome.
And specific things that we're working on for next steps for him. So they're also supporting and putting us in the hotel next week so that we can go and be a part of that experience and get some personalized training for Thunder too. So they're super supportive on the puppy raising end as well and helping us teach these puppies how to navigate in the world because there's just a lot for them to learn and do as they're getting older.
Absolutely.
Oh.
That's incredible. Oh, we lost him, but he's back.
Oh.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit more about kind of what that timeline looks like too? I think it's really interesting. Like we have seen now because of, getting updates on Thunder from Michelle and me sharing those to the community, we have seen like this first stage of how an animal from BluePath goes from like existing to being placed with a puppy raiser and those kind of first steps. But what is next in Thunder's journey? How do we get from here to that step you were talking about of like the meet and greet and the parent training and such?
So Thunder, he will be his birthday is next month. At the end of April, he will be turning a
So wild.
He was 7 pounds when I got him last year in June, so he's quite big now. So he will spend probably another 6 months with me, maybe 4 to 6 months. It kind of depends what dogs they have and when they're ready. If they have potential partnerships they're looking at for him, and what families are coming in, they're always looking at what families they have and how Thunder can match with that. And so when they're ready, they will call him back for formal training. Probably at the end of the summer, and he'll go and train with their professional trainers. So they have professional trainers that will finish off his training. We do always say that it's up to the dog if they're going to be a service dog. Service work is not for every dog. There is a percentage that they end up. BluePath tries and does facility dogs where they'll go work in a school if they don't make it as a partnership. So there's a couple different options for them, and we really try to find them a job that meets their needs and that we want the dog to be happy. So we'll see what's next for Thunder. But as of now, he's all on track. He'll spend a couple more months with me and then head to formal training sometime at the end of the summer.
Wow. That's awesome. I'm learning so many things I didn't know yet about BluePath. Like I didn't know that if a dog washes out of the program, they have those like backup options or other ways to still get them involved and kind of use the training and resources they've already put into them. It's really, really smart.
Yeah, they do a great job finding the perfect fit for the families they service, for the dogs. They really look out for kind of everybody's well-being and make sure that it's a good match for everybody and in everybody's best interest. So yeah, Thunder's in good hands with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so once they, what is that timeline sort of like once he's in his formal training? Like you said, they kind of have some ideas of potential placements when that starts, or does that happen throughout the process?
It kind of happens throughout the process. Once they get to know the dog and they get to know, what his energy levels are like, what he likes to do, how he could pair with a family. Yeah. And they kind of see what families, the application process that, Kate has gone through is extensive. So they're also doing that application process and getting to know the families and what the family needs, and matching the dogs based on how their temperament is and what the family's looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I can add in just quickly, the matching process is pretty in-depth. So there's a lot that they need to consider as far as whether the child and the dog are going to be a good match. So just as like for instance, if say Thunder is a licker and loves to lick fingers and toes, he can't go to a child that hates that sensation, right? Because so many kids have significant sensory opinions, for lack of a better word here.
But I feel like that's such like an inside autism word for it. Yeah. People would be like, oh, you have like a sensory aversion, and me and all my autistic friends are like, I have strong opinions about feelings.
In a lot of cases, there are kids that love that licking, though. So if you can try and like line up the dog that loves to lick with the kid that loves to lick, and then whether the dog enjoys like travel, like it's a dog that wants to be out and about, and it's a family that goes to Disney World twice a year and is off at grandma's 3 states away all the time, or like swimming in the lake, or there's a lot of different like environmental factors to consider between the kids and the dogs too.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I think it feels for me very like reasonable, I guess, for lack of a better word, that like you want every dog to be in a home where they're going to succeed, and you are putting so much into these animals and raising them and training them. Like you want them to be successful, but not every program does that much really in-depth work. And I think it really speaks to BluePath being about the success of the animals and the success of the families first, and not necessarily like profit, which as much as you wouldn't expect it, some service animal organizations are. And it's always very reassuring to feel like, we know we're supporting an organization that is focused on the right things.
Yeah, I think there's a focus on quality over quantity, which is really important on the side of the the people that are kind of boots on the ground and handling the dogs, like feeling supported, the puppy raisers, all the many volunteers involved in the process of bringing these dogs along, and then to feel supported kind of with the end result. Reba's somewhere in the room here with me, but she's like lying on the floor like a rug. She's so tired. Maybe I'll get her over
Totally
here in a minute.
Well, two things before we kind of wrap up and get on to the next thing. First, I did want to give you a little time to talk about the other work you do, because you do some esports and some like gaming adjacent charity work, and I wanted to give you some space to talk to folks about that in case anyone's in your area and wants to get in touch.
Sure. Yeah. So I work at an esports studio in Newtown, Connecticut, called Affinity Esports. We have kind of two big arms of the business. On the one side, we do a lot of youth programming for young people in kind of developing gaming skills. And a lot of that is focused on building soft skills around gaming. So teamwork, communication, a lot of emotional management. Um, and many of the kids we find are regular clients and come back again and again to different classes are neurodivergent. A lot of kids with ADHD, a lot of kids on the autism spectrum have kind of found a home um, with gaming and have been able to build a lot of connections that way. So that's kind of a nice tie-in to the autism realm here. And then the other aspect of the business that I work in particular with is a partnership we have with the state of Connecticut Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, where we go out to different programs that support young adults that are within the state system who are experiencing challenges. Some of them have mental health diagnoses, severe anxiety, autism spectrum disorder, just a variety of different things where they still need support from the state. They're out of the education system, but they still need some help. So what we do is we take our kind of mobile gaming setup out to them. And we set up these gaming clubs. So we meet once a week for 2 or 3 hours. We have kind of like a pizza party and we just talk about gaming and how it's affected our lives. And then we hop into some games together. Um,
I told you I wouldn't get through the interview without a cat.
There she is. um, so yeah, so that's kind of what I do during the
That's
day.
so awesome. Yeah, that's such a cool idea. I honestly, when Michelle mentioned an esports studio, I was like, I don't totally know what that means. And as you explained it, I'm like, this is incredible. Why don't we have this everywhere? Why don't I immediately know what that word means? Like, no, I
Yeah, it's
think that's
kind of a
fantastic.
unique business model, I guess, because many esports focused businesses are really like competition and tournament based.
Yeah.
And they're struggling. So we have more of a community aspect and it's going pretty well so far. Knock on wood. But
Yeah, which
it's
I
good
think is
stuff.
important. I mean, I did esports during my undergrad, and it was very community focused rather than competition focused, and it was such a good experience. And so
Yeah,
I'd love to see more like community first initiatives in that space.
definitely.
Yeah, so kind of my last thing, is there anything else either of you want to talk about BluePath or your experiences with them, or anything that I haven't specifically asked about that you want to make sure people get some info about?
No, I think we covered some good topics. I think raising awareness for service dogs is something I'm super passionate about, and having service dogs that are trained through organizations and undergoing that professional training and really providing services to their handlers is super important work, and they can do really incredible things. And as a puppy raiser, it's super rewarding. And I hope that one day, Thunder will turn into a Reba and be placed as a service dog, and really, change somebody's world. And we really appreciate people who donate and sponsor puppies like Thunder and pay for all of his vet care and things like that, so that I can, puppy raise and it's accessible and we can do some great things. So thank you for supporting BluePath.
Yeah, and thank you for doing puppy raising for them. That's so much work. That is such an incredible
Such a
amount of
gift.
work.
Yeah, it truly is a tremendous gift to families like our family that get the dogs on the other side, because we could never ever put the love and work into a puppy to get them where they are. So I just huge appreciation for people that do that. Thank you.
Thank you. We're happy he is finally sleeping past 7 a.m. So we are happy that
Attaboy!
Good work, little dude.
we can get some more sleep in the mornings.
Awesome.
And I guess for my part, if you don't mind me talking a little more, I like to wax poetic about my little guy. Wes received Reba when he was 5 years old, so we've had her for almost 2 years. 2 years next month. And um, Before he got Reba, every time we'd go out in public, it was just this massive roll of the dice. He deals with a lot of anxiety around loud noises and little kids. Because of the loud noises, little kids make noise, right? So he's constantly in this like fight or flight or drop to the floor. So like sometimes he'd see something that would give him anxiety and he'd just take off. Um, and we'd have to be, like you had to be wearing your running shoes at all times, have to chase after him, and you had to always be like watching and on guard. And I remember leaving the grocery store and just feeling like I'd left a war zone every time because it was just so stressful. And then sometimes instead of running, he just like dropped to the floor and was like unmovable, crying inconsolable because there's like a baby 3 aisles down.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough. Like it just was so hard for him to access anything in public. And he wanted to a lot of the times, he just wasn't able to. So when we added Reba into the mix, I don't know if you know the way they work together is like the parents holding the leash, and then you've got the dog in between you. She's got her harness on, which has a handle, and then Wesley holds the handle. He's also wearing a belt that's kind of attached to her vest. So if he tried to run, she'd physically stop him and like kind of anchor him, hunker down, and hold him in place. And he'd be like, "Oh, I guess I'm not getting anywhere." Um, so the first couple walks, he tried to elope a couple times and then was like, okay, that's not working. But he liked holding the handle, like it grounded him. He liked that sensory input, the little bit of pull. And we went from this state of him constantly like running or refusing to move. And like that was just how he got around, was like, I'm running or I'm stopping, to like, oh, I could just walk and we could just walk together. And he was so like centered and grounded. He started just like observing the world around him. He actually started communicating. He's partially verbal, but it gave him some time to like think, and he'd be like, instead of just like booking it to the candy aisle because he wanted to be in the candy aisle, he'd stop and he'd be like, candy. And it was just like kind of miraculous. It's a huge change for him. So we started kind of going from the everyday errands that Reba had made so much easier to traveling. And we discovered he really likes cities, like loves a city sidewalk. He's so into kind of all the inputs and just the different experience. We live in the woods, so it's a huge change of scenery. And then we, through our travel, discovered he's super into statues.
Oh,
so, like,
cool.
the George Washington statue in Boston Commons, he's just like, everywhere he go, he finds a statue and he's like, I'm gonna just spend 5 minutes just checking this statue out. So I feel
That's
like,
so cool.
yeah, it's just really opened up the world for him, specifically to have all these different unique experiences, and then for us as a family to be able to have these travel experiences together.
Yeah,
So yeah, shouts to Reba. She's
that's
amazing. And
awesome.
huge thank you to BluePath for training her. I'll see if I can get her to hop up here. Reba.
That's amazing. What's up, Reba?
Oh, she's so tired. Come on, you can do it. Yeah, there we
I
go.
love when they give you that look, like, not now.
Yeah,
You're
she's
like, I
like, I
know,
was
buddy. I'm
napping.
sorry.
You're too good, girls.
Sweet baby. But yeah,
So
I
that's
think
her.
that's so interesting because, like, I feel like a lot of times in like autistic circles, like groups of us, is there a word, like a gaggle of? But like, I feel like we talk a lot amongst ourselves about like, being joyful about the things that we love about being autistic. Like, not just talking about like it's tough, because it is, but like, reminding other people that like we also love being the way we are and there's positives about it. And a lot of times the thing we all talk about is having special interests. Like, it's such a joy to be able to like love something and really, really love it. But you can't do that if you're constantly in a fight or flight. Like, you can't discover things you love if you're panicking all the time. And so, yeah, like having a service animal giving you that space to just exist and then be like, oh, I like things. Like, that's so
a
cool.
really amazing way of putting it.
Yeah. That's so valuable. And I'm so glad y'all have gotten to experience that. Like, that's really, really special. Well, awesome. Thank you both so much for your time. That was wonderful to talk to you both.
Oh my gosh,
And,
thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us again.
Sure.
And hopefully we will have another puppy in our collection. In a couple days' time, we will get to vote on another name, I hope. So, folks hanging out in chat, keep getting your donations in. We are right on track. We are actually ahead of where we were last year. Let's keep that momentum going. Hit that 5,000 mark again. I would love to make another puppy names poll. It is the best part of this job.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you all so very much. Truly appreciate it.
Thanks, y'all. And we will be back in just a minute with more video games.